This is one of my favorite parts, and this is when we get to talk to local leaders. Before I get to them with the questions I have prepared for them, I would like you guys to be thinking about questions that you would like to ask them. And Joy will go around with the mic when it's your turn for you to ask them questions. But first, we're going to introduce you, like we don't know who you are. So, who are you and what do you do?
My name is John Carter, and I pastor a church in East Syracuse called Abundant Life.
Very good.
My name is Gail Reese, and I've been a foster parent. We've been a foster family for 25 years.
My name is Brenda Flagg. I am a State Farm agent, and I own my own agency here in East Syracuse. Yep.
They just picked me up in the parking lot. Darryl, Sanford. I'm the founder of a company called Perspective Mentoring, and I'm a professional nudger.
There you go. That's great.
So as you see, our panel today is very diverse, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about before we even start, is when we do these presentations, that's one thing that comes up is the definition of leadership. And a lot of people really look to their managers or the CEO, and that's the leader, or someone who's famous. Leaders come in all different shapes and sizes and different walks of life. So I like this panel because it's very, very mixed. So that's good. So we'll start with our number one question. See how prepared you guys are. Did you do your homework? Okay, think back. Who was your first role model that inspired you on your growth journey?
I prepared for this.
There you go.
I realize we're all going to take a turn. I'm going to jump in.
Oh, absolutely. Go first.
Go ahead.
Darryl was there too when this was happening. I was in a youth group, and I was too young to actually be in a youth group because it started in 9th grade, but I went to the youth leader and said, I belong in this group, I want to be in it. And he said, I like that you took initiative and showed some leadership, and I got into that group, and he mentored me. Norm Baxter is partly the reason who I am today, who I like about me, who God has just put in my heart to be, is because I had this great youth leader, and he just empowered me by giving me skills. He spent extra time with me. He taught me about the Bible in ways that just made it so very clear, and made it so I wasn't afraid to ask questions. He empowered me, and I will always remember that for him.
Yes.
So my first one was my youth leader.
Very good. Very good. Who's next?
So my person who influenced me the most was my first real boss, I would have to say. Because he had come at a time when I was working for this other agent, and he had come because he wanted to be his own agent. And when he came to the office, we were kind of just sitting there, and it was so funny because I was hungry for somebody, okay? And he was coming from a whole different town, going to have to move into our area, and nobody really wanted to live in a mill town. So he came in, and the first question he asked us, he goes, can we sell life insurance? I said, yes, we can. I know we can. And he goes, but can we do 100? I said, I know we can. And he left, and he seemed to be all upbeat and everything. And the girl that was with me, she goes, can we do it? I said, I don't know. Nobody's ever asked us before. So he had come, and he done such a great job. He led us. He inspired us. He'd done so much that he was recognized by the company. He got taken away into leadership, and I cried that day because I said, oh my God, he's leaving me. And I told him at the time, and I said, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm going into my Mary Kay career, I'm done with this. And he goes, why are you doing that? Do it yourself. And then he mentored me through there. And I kind of followed his steps. I had gone into leadership as well, and now I'm back out in an agency again.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I would have to say probably the first person who really inspired me about the fact that I could lead was a youth pastor. Yeah, Jeff Clark. When I was at a church called Church of the Resurrection, I was like maybe 15, 16 years old. I got called into the ministry, and then he was an encouraging youth pastor, and just, he gave me an example of what great leadership could look like. So, and then right after that, I got introduced to Kenneth Hagin, and I would say in terms of ministry leadership, he was my greatest first influence.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to stick with the theme because Pastor Mick Martin, who was a pastor at our church back in the day, we've known each other for a couple of days. But Mick came in, and I was 15, and he came into my life, and he was a calming piece that I needed. Like, the kind of pastor that, we go to test when they first come around, and he tied a rope to the door and to his foot at our first overnighter so that we wouldn't leave, right? So he was doing some dominance, right? So, but he came alongside me, and he taught me so much about being a man, about my faith, about treating people with value, and great sense of humor, great guy, and to this day I still talk with him, and he's just love the man.
Awesome. Okay, next question. In your opinion, how can a leader create a culture of inspiration within their organization?
Could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. In your opinion, how can a leader create a culture of inspiration within their organization?
I'm going to start with this. I believe that setting expectations and setting example. I think those are the two most powerful pieces to start with in that situation.
I thought a lot about this question, and I would say there's several things, and they're kind of sequential. I think, leading a church with a staff of, 40 or 50 people, and then, of course, a lot of volunteers, over the years, I've learned a lot, and I've also learned a lot by mistakes, not getting it right. And maintaining inspiration in an organization over a long period of time is an art. It really is, because organizations naturally have cycles of growth and energy, and then rest, and sometimes some retraction, some pruning, and then, so I've seen us over the years, and sometimes you get weary, and you can lose that inspiration, but these are the things that I think are the most important. Number one, you have to identify and clarify your vision and values, not just to yourself, but to the people you lead. What do we value, and where are we going? Vision is, what's the end result look like? What are the results? Be really clear. This is what I'm looking for this year or in this department. These are your wins right here. Don't make it too long. Just what are the main things? Define the wins, the vision, and then what are the values that we're going to hold in getting there? We're going to be joyful. We're going to be honest. We're going to be consistent. We're going to exercise faith. We're going to be relational. Whatever those values are, identify them and make them very clear to the people. Second of all, empower and celebrate victories. So when people act successfully towards that vision, or they exemplify those values, like we have 3 core values at our church: honor, integrity, and excellence. When you see it, celebrate it. That's right, you did a good job. Excellent. Make sure to acknowledge progress. And then I would say the third thing is correct quickly when someone is not operating according to those vision and values. Do it honestly, truthfully, lovingly, but clearly. because if we avoid correction and we're only celebrating, we're not going to, there has to be mid-course corrections. You know, when I think about, we had this rocket take off the other day, and the base, that the booster came back, you know, Elon Musk's SpaceX, and it came back, and they had to catch it. And as that base, it's amazing technology, is flying back to Earth, you could see there were these adjustments made. It was putting out some gas on one side, it was throwing out some fire on another side, using thrust to try to, you know, make it so it landed perfectly in the right space. If we don't have the ability to adjust and to correct, because we're too sensitive that people are going to be offended or hurt or whatever, ultimately we're not going to reach our goal. And everybody needs correction. Truthful, honest, open, and clear.
Very good.
Okay, so ditto, I like that. And in a very small organization, yours is large and stuff, but I have 3 people that I'm in charge of, right? I can always go in and say, hey, it's my business, I'm gonna do it the way I want to. And I've done that in the past, and I needed correction. So that's where he came into play too. But the biggest thing that I did this year when I was in my planning is I asked them what they wanted, not what I wanted. What did you want? What do you want to happen? What do you want happening to your office? What do you don't like to do? What do you like to do? So really that communication with them helped them realize I cared. And what everything else is supposed to be doing, you know, they want to know that when they come to work, that they have somebody that cares about them.
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
As a foster parent, we lead by example. That's what we try to do. There's so many reasons to get upset. Everybody knows it's not a surprise. The system is broken. But what we're in it for is lead people to Christ. Lots of our birth mothers know God now because we're foster parents. And it's a different world that we live in 25 years ago than we live in now. So you have to adjust your vision, your goals, and what you're going to do. The goal is always to return to home, back to parent or to a family member. Sometimes that can't happen, and it's both something to celebrate and something that's a loss for somebody. And so we lead by example, and we try to smooth out the wrinkles if someone's being upset about it, so that they can have a different perspective. Someone who's been a foster parent a long time, it's easier for me to say, don't be upset by that. That happens sometimes. But to them, they're loving this child like it's their own, and they're coming home all dirty, and oh, isn't that awful? It's not the worst thing. And you just got to talk them down for it. So that's what we do.
Gail, could you just share with them how many children have you served?
I want to say that my husband and I got married in 1998. And we were going to have one little girl, and we were going to name her Rebecca, and so we were going to have travel and then we got a house, still no baby. 2 years later, still no baby. 2007, well, God, what's going on? And my boss at the time made it sound so great to be a foster parent. So we said, well, if that's where we're going to get a baby, I'll help God. Sometimes he needs a hand. And here we are, 56 kids later. We've adopted 4. Wow. And God gave us 1. Not after I spent all my husband's money trying to have a baby. And when he was out of money, I just had a baby. And we have a past placement with us now, and we're going to adopt them too. So then we're done.
That's why Gail's up here.
Additionally, before you've adopted, and the 5th one you're going to adopt?
Then we're going to have 2. So look, is it important to know how many kids you have? But we'll have 8 altogether.
Wow.
And 1 biological. Yep.
That's why Gail's up here, because she leads. She leads.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
those questions, you know, it is very different between a full organization and a home or something, you know, We come in all different shapes and sizes. Okay, coming off of what you said, Pastor John, how do you stay motivated and focused as a leader when you're faced with setbacks or failures?
So I think I've got several thoughts about this. So the first thing I would say, and this is from lots of experience, of lots of setbacks and lots of failures and lots of disappointments. The number one thing is don't catastrophize it. When you catastrophize, you think of your problems, first of all, as personal. There's something wrong with me. I'm bad. Catastrophizing is never a solution. And when you make it personal, it makes it very difficult for you to analyze the situation. Second of all, we make it pervasive. We start to think, not only is it about me, but it's everywhere. This is terrible everywhere. The whole thing isn't work. And then the third thing we think is that it's permanent, that this is never going to change. And when we start going to that loop of thinking, when we get into failures or challenges, it's about me, it's everywhere, it's never going to change, you literally close off your spirit and your mind to solutions.
Absolutely.
So don't go there. Second of all, you've got to review what happened. So you're not going to take it personal, but you are going to look at what happened. And you're going to say, okay, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? How did this happen? So you almost look at it, instead of failure, think of it as results. Analyze the results. Okay, so we intended to do this, and this happened, and what part of that could we or could I have done better? And you just take that as data. You don't fall apart. You just make it a learning experience. I think we need to do that with sin as well. Honestly, repent of our sin, and then move quickly to say, now, why am I doing this? And how can I do differently next time? And not stay in a shame cycle. And then I think the third thing is you've got to recalibrate.
Amen.
So you've got to say, okay, so now where do we go from here? What is the vision and values again? Where do we want to go? Does anything about that need to change? What are my resources? And let's move forward in a new future. And the sooner you can do that, the healthier you're going to be emotionally. And there's a whole bunch of studies that a person's longevity in life, people who live a long time, have the ability to quickly recover. They bounce back quickly from failure. And it's usually because they learn not to personalize and catastrophize. They analyze the results. They don't make it permanent. And then they recalibrate and keep moving on. They don't live in the past. And if you can do those things, I think, and you're going to have to work on it all the time, but you're going to improve. And failures will not be the mark of your life. They'll be the learning experiences of your life.
That's I'm gonna say yes and on that, because and you brought up SpaceX earlier. So that particular launch, that one, they actually failed, right? That rapid deconstruction of the space unit, the first half of that was destroyed. Bottom half landed perfectly.
Right.
Loved it. We were looking at it last night.
Excellent point.
So
it was a partial failure
Yeah.
and a partial success.
exactly, and failure and success can exist at the exact same
Yes,
time.
they can.
Right,
That's
and so I think SpaceX is a great example of what you were saying, because they create so many units and they launch and they launch and they launch. Oh, that failed. Why? I don't know. Write that down. Keep getting ready. Put the next one together. Right, and I think that part of this is the fact that we have to keep studying, keep learning. Right? Don't look at your failures and successes as that final point, but look at them as, okay, how can I grow from? And sometimes you've got to pull out a library book that you haven't read. It may be on the shelf, or you may have to ask somebody in order to get some additional information so that you can make sense of it. Right? That's what SpaceX is doing, is they take that data and they make adjustments. Right. Another thing that I do is I've got a really solid inner circle. I have a gentleman that I work with every Monday. We get together. We spend about 2 hours just, inner circle, serious conversation about where we're at, what we're doing, how we're doing it. I love the man. He's a brother to me, and I know that if he gives me hard truths, it's through love and because he wants the best thing for me. And then I've got another group that I get together with every 2 weeks on Thursday nights, and we do the same thing. We spend an hour together, and we break that down. But I think it's very important not to hide by yourself when you feel like you're in that failure point, or when you're not sure, because like we talked about earlier, you need people that are going to show you those blind spots. You need people that are going to speak life into you in what you're trying to do. And trying to do it by yourself doesn't work. That's
Excellent.
Okay, can I say
Ditto.
that's true? So, and it's funny, it's because my career is kind of on the wind down, okay? I've got 5 more years, I'll be 70, and I'm gonna retire. That's it, okay? I've made that commitment to myself last year, and I made my head think I'm retired. I still got 5 more years, okay? So I was kind of in that funk of, okay, well, you know, I'm winding down. I don't need to do what I need to do. However, I have a person who works for me who wants to become an agent. So that means I got to step up my game, because in order for her to become successful, I got to be back into my game when I was before. Now, I had actually came to a course that the church was having, and it was like an epiphany to me, because it was like, oh my God, God sent Darryl to me, because it was like, oh, I need him to help me get back to where I need to be. I had peers who was helping me to keep me motivated, to keep me on my focus, but there was still something missing. So I actually reached out to Darryl after that class, and I said, I need your help. Can we sit and talk? And so he actually helped me through a big funk. I'm back, and I'm moving now. I may have 5 years, but I'm still going to be on the top of my game before this is all over.
That's good.
It's finished strong.
In fostering, there are lots of opportunities to get discouraged. You feel like, from my perspective, the judge doesn't know everything they need to know to make a good decision about the kids that they put in my care. They say, here, Gail, take lovingly care of this brand new baby. Oh, but we're going to give it back to this family who have reptiles going all over the house. And you just think that's not a good position for the baby to be in. But you have to know and trust in the system, even though you know it's broken. And it causes a lot of angst when they take them out and the kids are crying, they don't want to go. It's like ripping your heart out and showing you, well, it's still beating. It's that painful. So what do we do to move on past that? We immediately pray for them. So the rest of the kids,
Excellent.
the other people get to leave or get to stay, whatever the situation is in that moment, and we pray for them. God, keep them safe. God, surround them in white light, and so no harm will come to them. We read the Bible for them, and then we do something fun. You know, when you're little, something fun is renting a room that has a swimming pool, right? So we've got Hampton miles, we're not even going anywhere. And so we rejuvenate in that way by going on a little mini vacation, and then we have to get back in the game. Because sometimes the kids aren't even out the door, we're already getting another call. But you have to know when to say no, and you have to know what your limits are. So it's very important to keep your eye on the prize.
That's good.
Yes, very, very good. Okay. What are your go-to strategies for balancing being approachable while maintaining authority as a leader?
We gotta go.
You know, that's a really interesting question, and I think it's interesting specifically right now because of the kind of cultural movement we've seen over the last 15 years, especially among the younger generation that has become very allergic to authority. So we see it's almost become popular to not anybody, if you are the leader of the team, just act like you're not. So there's this whole idea of egalitarianism that I think undermines effectiveness because God set everything up under a structure of authority. On one side, you can be so focused on authority that you lose yourself, right? And that's not good. And there's abuse of authority, and we see that, right? In every dimension, in every sphere, there's authority figures who abuse that authority. But the other error is to throw out the biblical principle of authority. And I think as a person who is a leader, you have to cultivate, first of all, you've got to become comfortable in your own leadership authority. You know, when David went to kill Goliath, which is his first leadership task, right? Saul put his armor on David, and it didn't really fit, you know, right away. And so David had to grow into the fact that he had to wear that armor. It takes time to develop your sense of authority, but he still had to step out and do it. So I think that you need to appreciate authority, you need to become comfortable in it, and then at the same time, you need to remain relational. So, and it's a delicate balance, because if as a leader with people you're directly leading or employing, if you become too personal with them, you can lose. In most cases, people can't handle. They want transparency, but then they don't respect you, right? There is something about familiarity breeds contempt. And in this Facebook social media generation where everybody shares everything online, I think that that's not wise. And I think as Christians, we need to recognize that there's people that can handle, certain things, and other folks. What are like if you have employees or people on your team, ask this question: what is God's purpose for this relationship? Not everybody's supposed to be your friend, even though you can be friendly. Not everybody's supposed to be brought into all the intimate knowledge of things. The purpose of this, like for instance, in my church, among my church members, my first role is to be their shepherd, not their friend. Now, there's some church members that I've built some friendship with over the years, but I can't step off my first box of authority as a leader just because I prefer to be in a relational box that could compromise that. So finding that balance is really important. And I think, it's one thing that's important is that you don't try to make somebody that you're supposed to lead, or that the main purpose of your relationship is to help them become successful in the organization. Don't try to turn that into a relationship that's going to meet your emotional needs as a leader. Find other folks, and this the only way you can have the deepest kinds of friendships, and you don't need a ton of them, is you've got to have people in your life that don't need anything from you.
Very good.
Right? So for me, even the friends I have in the church, in some cases, right, they still need from me leadership. So my employees, I try to develop a warm, intimate relationship with them, but at the end of the day, they can't be a true friend is an equal. Does that make sense? So I've had to foster relationships with other people and ministers who I can trust, right? Who don't need something from me. I'm not pastoring them. Does that make sense? So those are my thoughts.
Very good.
Okay, so off from that, it's funny, it was because when I went from being a team member to owning my own agency back in 2000, I had 2 employees that I was co-workers with, and now I'm their employer, right? So still that transition is thinking, okay, they're my friend because I worked with them, right? Until the day I had to fire my first one. And I sat and I cried because it was one of them that I used to work with. And we got really close, but my vision of my agency, she wasn't going along with. So to actually have to fire her was very alarming to me, because it's like, oh my God, I did not become the leader, I was still her friend. So, and that was a learning for me. Over the years, I have adjusted, and now when I bring out the black suit, people know what's gonna happen, and they're gonna get fired. So I didn't wear a black suit today. Yeah. So, but the team I have now, you have, and I'll count myself, 4 women working in a small office. So you're bound to become very close of what's happening. But I do find myself stepping away when they get into conversations that I don't need to be part of. Okay, because I do have to keep that, because I still have to think of myself as, okay, at any one of these times I could fire you, and I can't be like I was so many years ago. I have to be able to do that.
Can I just tag on to
Yeah,
that?
that's so good.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, one of the things that I've helped me in this, because there are people in my life that I have multiple relationships with. Every relationship you have is a hat. So, for instance, there are some people that are in my life that I wear a family hat with. We're related. I wear a pastor hat with, right? And an employer hat. And there's people in my church that are sheep, so I wear the shepherd sheep hat. And then I wear the employer-employee hat. And in some cases, they're friends, I wear the friend hat too, at a level. And so what I actually did is I had baseball caps made. I got like 7 of them with these different boss, pastor, all these different hats. And sometimes, and I taught my staff this, especially those with multiple relationships, I wear different hats with you. So when we're in the office, when we're in this, in ministry, my first hat is the pastor hat. And that's the primary hat if you're a member of this church. That's the main hat that I have. Now, if they're family members, we're family first, shepherd, sheep second, employer, employee third. And if I need to come to you and talk to you, I will tell you what hat I'm wearing. And it's amazing if you just start a conversation with, I'm wearing this hat. I got to come to you as the CEO, or as the boss, or as the employer. I know we have a friendship, but I'm not wearing the hat. I need to talk to you with this hat. What it does is it immediately clues them to know which hat they should wear. And sometimes I tell my team, when you're approaching me, tell me what hat you need me to wear. So, for instance, my son, Jordan, he'll come to me and say, Dad, work hat. I say, okay. If he calls me at home, and then we go into discussing it, and then I speak to him as a shepherd, as the CEO, I don't talk to him as my son. And then he said, Dad, this is the family hat. Okay. And then he puts that hat on, and it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I like that. Because before you said that, I was thinking the same thing, because that's really been, again, setting expectation and like the black suit, right? It's not that it's bad, it's just where we are. And so anyway, go ahead.
I'm actually not a leader, other than God has given us successes in all the placements that we have. So the county will say, oh, let's give this child to Gail. The Reeses will know what to do. And I'm happy to do that. Typically, those type of placements come for short periods of time. But not always. Sometimes, it's a 3-week respite that stays more than a year. And we pray over our children and ask for guidance for that. But I am a leader in the way that people will say, you've got that problem with the foster system? Call Gail. She'll know what to do. Mm-hmm. Or another husband would say to my husband, oh, all she does is talk about the kids. Oh, it's amazing. And so my husband will calm them down. And so what we do as leaders in the foster community is put fires out and just counsel them or just listen to them. Sometimes they just want to be heard. And we give them tools to work through the emotions that come with fostering teenagers and kids that want to run away. And there's a lot of mental health issues involved in this. And there's really no preparation for it. And I think our biggest success is reaching out to them and telling them about God. Because so many people have come to my husband and myself and say, how do you do it? That must make you so mad. My first reaction might be to be mad, but my next reaction is what am I going to do about it? And I don't say, what am I going to do about it? We say, God, Lead us, guide us. You know what lots of times God says? Do nothing. Continue to love the children. Continue to teach the children. Don't do anything different. You don't know what's going to happen. And so, as a leader, once again, we lead by example. And we are looking for other people just to, if they want to jump on board with us, they can. We welcome them in. But if they don't, we have had some people that we can't be around, and we just make that distinction, and we're quite frank about it. Usually Dave handles that part.
Well, and I love you. We've been friends a long time, so I'm going to challenge you, right? In front of everybody, I'm sorry, but you're a leader.
Absolutely.
You own that. By the hat, right? Because you're an influencer, all right? So, excellent.
Thank you, Darryl.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to make sure you know. Right. It's important you know.
Yes. Yes.
So I think one of the things nowadays, I run into this with clients, is the fact that, again, back to the generational pieces are an issue. For those of us that are, earned all this gray, we think of how business is supposed to be run. We think how a new person comes on board and we're supposed to teach them, instruct them, give them guidance, give them all the data and everything that they ever need. They need to get it from me, and then I'm going to mentor them if I'm actually interested in it and not just going to let them go on. But today's not the same. Nowadays, information's not the problem. Everybody can have information. Younger generations are coming in and they're already know, and they don't want to hear. The three most dangerous words when you're in a situation where it's time to learn is, I already know that. Right. But that's how we come in. People are coming in that way because they watched a YouTube video, they read something. So I believe that as leaders, we have to understand how they're coming in so we can communicate with them. The key is not them doing it our way. The key is, as a leader, is we influence a group of people to move in a certain direction to achieve a goal. So it doesn't have to be my way, but they do need to understand the expectations and where we're coming from. But I have to also understand where they're coming from and communicate with them in a way that says, okay, you've got that data, so my job now is to show you how to use it. It's to give you wisdom, right? It is to take you to the next step. And I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to correct you on some stuff, so just be aware. It's not because you're wrong or you're bad or whatever, but, I do have more experience, or I have this experience. So I think it's extremely important for organizations, and whether it's volunteer or paid, is that you've got to understand that today is different than 10, 15, 20 years ago. And therefore, if you want to be successful, you've got to grow. You've got to change. You have to continue to personally grow and make sure that the team that you have is growing, because communication, right, that's the highway for trust, and people are coming in with no trust. They already have a preconceived understanding of what trust is, and you don't have it. And so it's our responsibility as leaders to pave that road. Now, they may not want to jump on the road. And at that point, I love working with Chick-fil-A. One of the things they say there, is if you're on board and we've got to let you go, we promote you to guest. Right? So sometimes you got to promote people to guest. But let's make sure that when we do that, we do it for the right reasons, and make sure that we've done our due diligence as leaders to make that happen.
Very good.
That was good.
Okay, Joy, would you like to grab a mic, and we will take some questions from all of you. Oh, my soul.
There we go.
There we go. Come on.
I just want to say that I am amazed by Joy's hair.
Thank you.
That is a beautiful
So the role of a leader is often very demanding, and you all give so much of yourselves, And I'm careful when I use the word self-care because I feel that that's become a buzzword. But what do you do to fill yourselves back up and make sure that you are leading yourselves in a place of care before you can lead?
Well, Darryl asked me this question when he asked me if I might sit on the panel, and it's a very important probably in any position, but particularly in foster. We have our own children, we have so much going on, and I'm 60 years old, and I work from home, and I could fill every single minute with something for anybody else but me. But that's not how I do it. The Lord spoke to my heart a long time ago. And my guilty pleasure and what fills me up are these books, paperback books that my mother gives me, and they're about Amish, the Amish community. Now, by and large, in these books, many of the women are very serving. But in the book, there's always something about how they take care of themselves, the little things they do for themselves. And so I get a lot of rejuvenation from reading those books. And there's other things I do, but that is one of my favorite things to do, is to read not just the Amish books, but any of the books. And it's important to me, and I find that I fall short if I don't keep very close walk with God. So when I get up in the morning, before any little feet hit the floor, I got to get with God. And then He stays with us all day, of course, but I just want to say that reading is how I rejuvenate.
Yep.
Amish books are awesome.
I would add to that, just actually leap on that and say, you need to identify what restores you. And that's different for every person. You know, sometimes you think, I just need a vacation, or I just need time off. Have you ever taken time off and you're more tired at the end of the time off?
Yes.
Typically, what really rejuvenates us is when our daily actions are a reflection of what we really value. So in your work, we do need rest from work. We need to rest our minds and to rest our bodies, but just time off alone is not necessarily going to restore you. It's really reflecting on a regular basis, how are my actions being consistent with the things I value. And when you do work that is important to you and you're seeing results, for me, that is restoring and refreshing. Now you can become a workaholic, and I know I've got to rest, I've got to take time off, I've got to have time for my family, and there are certain things, you know, I love the fact, reading Amish books. I like to watch thrillers, I like Stephen King books, I like, science fiction and horror, to a level, I like roller coasters. Those are things that really inspire me, so I try to make time during the year. For instance, I'm already planning which roller coasters I want to go on this next year, right? And Universal Studios is building its Epic Universe. It's a brand new theme park with 5 worlds, and it's supposed to be some world-class coasters. So I'm already scoping out. It opens May 5th. I know all about it, and so I look forward to that. And then my family restores me and refreshes me. So knowing what you need to feel restored, not just in your time off, but also in your work. What do I need to do in my work that really inspires me? There's certain things, a lot of times we end up doing the duties that aren't inspirational, and we don't really get to any of the stuff that really fills us up. So you got to find it out.
Amen.
So it's true. There seems to be a theme here. So I read books as well. Actually, when I was packing to come here, I always bring my backpack, and I have 3 different kinds of books always in my backpack. One is my spiritual book, one's my business book, and one's just a good old book that I could read. I knew I was coming here today and thinking, well, what am I packing this for? I'm not going to read today. But you never know. I might squeeze it out. But I guess the biggest thing is when you get up in the morning, you start the day off thanking the Lord. And I usually take my dog for a walk, and I'm doing my devotionals while I'm walking. Just to be outside. It was cold this morning, just so you know, at 5 a.m., it was cold. But you know what? It's refreshing too. because it was like, it cleared my mind from everything from yesterday. And today, I was focused on today, and that's it. And tomorrow, I will do the same thing. But I think that's the thing is, because you are pulled in so many different directions throughout the day, you gotta find what works for you and stay doing it. Because once you stop doing it, you're gonna get yourself into a tailspin, and that's not a good place to be at.
That's good. No, I agree with all of that, and I think that part for me, right, and I told you guys that I follow squirrels a lot and butterflies and whatever, right, but the fact is that eliminating as much chaos is so important to me.
Yep.
I have a statement that I make that I say that I respect my calendar, and by respecting my calendar, that means things go on the calendar, things are accurate on the calendar, and that I'm scheduling personal time on the calendar.
Excellent.
And so some of the things that we did, my wife and I, we play Minecraft, right? And the kids jump on. We got a family server that we play on. It's relaxing to me, right? It's just good stuff to do. I like to read as well. But the thing is get rid of the chaos and then search out what it really is that rejuvenates.
I just have one little thing to add. That's so good. Little habits that we do really make a difference. They can shift throughout our lifetime, but I started about 18 months ago with a friend of mine who's in Florida, a dear friend, and he turned me on to this game. You play it every day, and then we ended up signing up for the New York Times daily games. So every morning, typically when I wake up, I'll pray, and then I'll sit down to get my brain working, and I'll play Wordle, and I'll play Connections, and I'll play the New York Times Mini, which is like a mini crossword, and it's like 5 little games, and it takes me maybe 15, 20 minutes, but it gets me into a problem-solving mode, and when I solve it, it gives you a little dopamine hit. It's good. Nothing like solving Wordle in 3 guesses. That's not easy. Usually I get them in 4. This week I got 2 and 3, which is pretty amazing. So start with crane. Always start with crane, anyway. But those things can be really rejuvenating, and they can get you going. Sometimes it's just getting you going. That's the thing. Getting up and walking in the morning, getting in the fresh air, standing up and lifting your arms up in the air does something to your brain, just lifting your arms up in the air for a while. There's all these little tricks that get the body responding, and I've noticed as I've progressed over the decades that your energies have to come online a little more slowly, or do come online a little more slowly. So some of these things can help get you in the mindset.
Yeah, that's good.
Chantal, get out of the bed. Get out of the bed.
Get out of bed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. What else do we have? Adam.
Sorry, I was doing my little, it's like the last place I looked.
One of the things that Darryl had mentioned was that we have to generate trust in the people that are following us. When do you find that you are too focused on generating trust versus when is enough?
Can you ask it one more time?
Yeah.
Wordle.
It's really important for any leader to generate trust in the people that are following them. Where is that tipping point where you find I'm chasing this versus trying to do what we need to do and actually leading this group of people?
What do you mean by chasing?
Where all of your focus is on building that trust, and it's all about the trust, and you've sort of let go of the vision because you're so worried about the people that are following you
Yep.
actually following
Oh, I
you.
see.
Yeah.
So that is a really good question. And I think that's an internal question as well, because I find that sometimes I'm a little slow on the draw, okay? Because I want so much for everyone, okay? And I want to build that trust, and I want to I see more potential in them than they may see in themselves. So I'm always trying and trying and trying and trying. But there is a time when it's internally that you're just saying, okay, I gotta stop. Because if it's not bettering them or bettering yourself, then you're just spinning your wheels.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah, and you gotta just say, enough's enough.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Hearing her say that, that's what I was speaking about when we try to invite every other foster family that needs support or help or uplifting or gain understanding. But if they're not going to, and they're just going to breed contempt because they're unhappy, because it's very easy to be unhappy. We all know it's a broken system. But there's some that just have to go. So unless they're adding to our group, if they're being negative, that can't last very long. But I had another thought, just a moment. In the county, people come to our home all the time. And they anytime they want, they can come by. Typically now, because I've been a foster parent a long time, they'll call me and give me a little bit of notice. But when that happens and you're a new foster parent and they come by right after dinner time when you're trying to put the kids in the bath and they want you to stand there and talk to them, the kids take advantage of that and run all around and they get all nervous about that. And so whenever I get a chance, whenever I'm on any of those foster parent county panels, I always say to give grace for that. There's a time for grace. When you're gaining trust, the county wants the foster parents to trust them, then they show up at such a really bad time. So I try to build a bridge there between trust and putting up with the counties doing their job.
Great question. So a couple thoughts. I think the first thing in building trust is, in any relationship you enter, if you're entering into a new church, if you're entering into a marriage, if you're entering into, you're a teacher and a student is coming into your classroom, you have a new employee, what's really important for their success is orienting them on what to expect. So you need to clarify, in fact, in our premarital counseling in church, one of the things we do is we have the prospective husband and wife make a list of, without the other person knowing, what are the things you expect from your spouse in marriage? And then they come together, they don't share it, and then in person they say, I expect this, this, and this. It's usually interesting, because sometimes you have a guy that expects his wife to do the laundry, and you have a wife that expects her husband to never ask her to do the laundry, and they have to have a conversation around that. So I expect you to be, you prioritize the things, that expectations, you have to define them and be clear before you enter in the relationship. In our church, when we have our membership meeting, one of the things we try to do is say, okay, this is what you can expect from us. We're going to provide these things for you, and this is what we're expecting from you. And just clarifying, here's the expectations. The second thing in building trust is to deliver results. So nothing builds trust in people over time like doing what you say you're going to do, right? So, and you may not do it exactly in the right time, and you may stumble along the way, but if people see you delivering results, they're going to trust your leadership more. They're going to lean into that leadership more. And that also means that sometimes when you have a team member that you're trying to bring along and they're not coming along, for the sake of the team and the others, you have to sometimes let go. You just realize, I've tried to build trust, I've tried to include you in the situation, but there are either you're not willing to change, or you're not able to change, or it's just not the right time. So you got to maintain trust with the rest of the organization. You should always act in the best interest of the group as a whole, not just the individual. So I think those things can help. You do everything you can to build trust, but some people have had their trusters broken. So they see anybody in authority and they automatically have an internal voice that says they're going to disappoint me, they're going to abuse me, and they have no emotional ability to handle correction. unless they develop that, you're not going to have a successful relationship. And you can sometimes help them to get there, and sometimes you can't, and you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Sorry.
Voted to guest. Okay, so there's never a point where there's not enough trust. That's a journey, right? To build trust. That's a continual discipline on our part to make sure that we're doing our side of that. And I think you guys did a really good job, because it is setting that expectation. It is making sure that people know that they have a seat at the table, but also the expectation and understanding that their seat does not necessarily give them the same voting power as other people or other positions or whatever. And again, it's back to that communication. And I think I'm going to be answering your question, Adam. I think that when we're in that position, I don't know how to put this, the trust, we can't push a rope, right? I can't make someone trust me. They're either gonna fit or they're not gonna fit, back to your point. And I think that too many people, there's different personality types, right? And some of us in this room are very results oriented, and we're gonna run for that, and that's gonna be the key. But some of us are more people oriented, and maybe like myself, who's a recovering people pleaser, right? Where I want to make sure you're all happy, right? But as a leader, we have to identify who we are and be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And they're either going to eventually, with consistency, love that and want to be with us, or they're not. And we've just got to step into the position and say, and the Maxwell team, we say this: we are people of value that value people, and we add value to them. And if you have that, and you're doing that, that's the most you can do.
Yes, that's excellent. Good slogan.
So the time is ticking on, so I would like to thank you all for the amazing job that you did. Thank you very much. Very much. We have little gifts for you.
A little bit of something for you. Of appreciation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also a gift, and for each one of you, you've got a mug, but you also have John's newest book, Jesus, the High Road Leader. It's a signed copy.
Wow. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, that last session was so good. John is
She's gonna grab
so
it.
Very good.
I know it's not a big check like that.
Here's Brenda's.
Over this way, and then you wanted to check yourself.
Hold on. There we go.
Yeah, Perfect. You closed out our day so well, and we really appreciate it. Let's hear it for these guys. Addison Spears, could you
Come on, Dean.
I'm so sorry.
So, Dean Addison Spears, I also want to give you a certificate of appreciation. You have come alongside. You are a leader and a liver of leadership, and you have blessed so many of us. And you have blessed myself for helping us with this. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Perfect. Thank you so much.
We love you, Brad.
So, Jolene, could you take me to the screen with Valerie, please? Boom. All right. We are about to wrap up. I know I said we'd be out of here by 4:30, but I want to bless you with some extra time for yourself today. All right? Have you guys had a great time? Yes. Love it. Fantastic. Well, we have an opportunity to get together on a virtual event. Valerie Burton is my coach from Maxwell Leadership. What we're going to do is February 19th, we're going to do basically a lunch and learn. We're going to do basically what we did today. We're going to hear from Valerie, and then we're going to have some conversation as a group. All right? And I'm going to give you a quick, if I can. Can you hit the video for that, Joe? I'll give you a little teaser of what you're going to hear.
Here's the thing. We mostly set goals as what I call performance goals. Performance goals are easily measurable. It's the amount of weight you want to lose, how much money you want to make, the business you want to start, the relationship you want to have. But we forget that we must grow in specific ways to get to those performance goals. Every single one of your goals that is a performance goal should have a growth goal to go with it. Where do you get stuck when it comes to your biggest goals?
So, sound interesting? Yes. All right, so use this QR code. There is no charge to this. This is my gift.
Wow. Thank you.
I want you guys to have the opportunity to hear from Valerie, and I am blessed that you guys were all here today. I do have a couple of closing things that I need to go over. If it were on my page, it'd be awesome. Oh, Connie, could you help me? We got a couple more quick raffles. You guys still want stuff, right? Of course. Oh, just checking. I mean, you know. So we're going to do the raffles for the, or we're going to do the, we did the drawing for the photo booth. Last 4 digits of your phone number, 7480.
Me?
I know. You sure you want something from it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right.
That's so good. That's how you have games.
Here's a copy of John Maxwell's The Leader's Greatest Return. And 2770. All right, come on. This is from Jeff Henderson, who is just an amazing guy, an amazing author. I think you're really going to enjoy it. This is Know What You're For. So fantastic. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. The ticket. Actually, while we're getting ready for that, while she's taking that up. All right, I asked you to do one of these earlier for me personally. This, even though it's got my smiling face, is not for me. This is for the event. We've been doing this event since 2019, and it is important for us to get feedback because we upgrow this every time. We look for the opportunities, we read every comment, and we try to accommodate wherever we can for the greatest good of the entire community. And so if you would take just 2 minutes again, and I know it sounds like it's for me, but again, keep in mind it's for the event itself. You're going to use L2L for the tag, and if you would do that, I greatly appreciate it.
This seems to be about the session that you did, though.
Right, that's what I was saying. It says it's for me, but answer the questions based on the event itself, please.
So the first one that we did, was that one for you?
That first one was for me.
Okay.
This one is for the overall full day event.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's a little confusing because of the way that the system is, and I apologize for that.
You better come. Sorry.
So as you leave today, we're going to have a bin out in the back. We'd like to recycle lanyards rather than fill up garbage, landfills with them. So there's going to be a bin in the back. If you would leave your lanyard, we'd appreciate it. I don't know if you are like me. I've got a closet full of them, so from different events. So I appreciate that. On the snack table. Yep. And I want to say that this is my vision. To have this room filled up, to double our size next year. This is the first time we've done it in Syracuse. The first time we've done it here at the church in this format. And my goal is truly to be a nudger. My goal is to truly come alongside each and every one of you, whoever's looking for assistance, whether it's for you personally, maybe it's your business, maybe you work for an organization that I could serve. I would love to have a discovery conversation with you because this is my passion. This is what I do. This is what my family does. And it's an honor every time we have the ability to do this, to bring training, to see people's lives change. It's empowering for us and it fulfills our purpose. So if at any point you know of anybody or you can think of anybody, each of you have a business card in your bag that has my information on it, and I would love to have a conversation with you. We're going to pull two more tickets. $1749. 1749. Red ticket.
Oh, I don't even know what ticket.
The last 3 numbers.
Yay! Would you like some more determination in your life? All right.
Yeah, Shawnee.
There you go.
Thank you. Shawnee.
Next one is 1700. 1700. I know, must be a present to win. 1728. 1728.
There we go, Mommy.
We've got John Gordon's The Energy Bus.
Thank you so much.
All right, one more. You got it in you for one more?
Yeah.
You guys got quiet. Shouldn't have fed you lunch. 1657. We're going to get you some persistence, sister. Thank you. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and hanging out.
Thank you.
Have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you very much.